Well, hello there. In this video, I'd like to talk about psychics. Now, I'm interested in the paranormal in general. I'm interested in psychic ability, but not just that. I'm also interested in mediumship, astral projection, occultism, magic, witchcraft, things like that. So there's some varied interests there. But my topic for this video is simply going to be psychics. And what I'd like to discuss is a blog post that I read on a blog called the Weiler Psi. Now, it's written by a gentleman named Craig Weiler. It's a pro-psychic blog, and I've been following it for quite a few months now, as I think he has some interesting things to say, and I agree with quite a few of the points he makes. Now, the particular blog post in question is a post he wrote entitled "Psychic People, the Last Quiet Minority." And as the title suggests, it's all about Mr. Weiler expressing how, in his view, he feels that psychic people are a minority group, on a par with other minorities in other countries. He's based in the States, so an example of a minority group which he compares psychics to is the gay community. Obviously they're a minority. There's a lot of them, but they are a minority, and they've had to fight for rights and freedoms, and they're still fighting for rights and freedoms now, and good luck to them. It's quite interesting, really, because Mr. Weiler draws several comparisons to the issues faced by both gays and psychic people, and while he makes it very clear that psychics don't suffer the same kind of prejudices as a lot of gay people have suffered in the past, there are some valid comparisons that can be made to how these groups have been treated, and are still being treated somewhat today, although the gay community has made some progress. There's a lot of work to do, obviously, and there's still a lot of work to do where psychics are concerned. And again, just to be clear, Craig Weiler is not talking about the celebrity psychics. He's not really discussing people like them. He's talking about the average, everyday, ordinary psychic person who's not famous, who has a normal job and goes out and isn't known to a wide amount of people. It's that individual, that sort of individual that he's discussing, not the famous psychics who have their TV shows and well, celebrities basically. So anyway, I'll read out a few quotes from this particular blog post that he's written. He starts off by saying, "In my studies of psychic people, I have come to understand that we are a minority group with the same pressures and problems of other minorities." So it's interesting. And to be fair, before I read this blog post, I'd never actually considered psychic people as a minority in their own right. At least not practicing psychics anyway. What I think is that I think we all have inherent psychic ability. It's just that some people are born with a better talent for it, and with many of us it's something that lies dormant, because it's suppressed. Whereas for some people, they're born naturally gifted at it. But I think we all have the ability somewhere, and that we can all learn and develop psychic abilities. Further on in the article, Craig Weiler starts the comparisons with gay people and psychic people. His first point is that, like gays, psychic people have the option of hiding who they are from the general public. There are no physical features of psychic people to give them away, and the only way for people to find out is if the psychic gives away the secret. So basically, it's quite simple. Like gays, psychics have the option of keeping quiet about their abilities, like some gays remain in the closet, so to speak. A psychic can do the same thing. If they're frightened or if they feel people might react badly, they can be intimidated into hiding their ability. Another thing he mentions is that psychic people are unfairly portrayed as incompetent and flaky and crazy and deluded. In the field of psychology, it is assumed that there is something wrong with us. A third quote is, both gays and psychic people tend to not advertise who they are for fear of disapproval, waiting instead to find out who's called. It is all very isolating and mentally unhealthy. Another quote, like gays, many psychics suffer from self-loathing due to non-acceptance by authority in our society. Many people keep their psychic abilities secret due to fear of losing their jobs or status or both. They don't want the crazy label. And through all of this analysis, Craig Weiler comes to the conclusion that what we're dealing with is, to put it bluntly, bigotry. And when I look at what he's written, and I analyse it, and I give it some thought, I find myself in agreement with him. A lot of people out there, a lot of people I've come across, mostly online, react in a very hostile manner to the idea of psychic ability, and they're all too quick to laugh at people who consider themselves to be psychic, or who believe in psychic ability. And, okay, a bit of joking and laughing around is fun, but it can get to a point where it's no longer just joking around or laughing or light-hearted humour. It can get to the point of bullying. And quite a few psychics and spiritual people that I'm in contact with, either in person or online, have experienced some bullying and some nasty abuse because of their practices and beliefs. And I think there is a current culture at the moment where it's still socially acceptable to be prejudiced against psychics or witches or mediums even as well. And Craig sums it up as just another one of those, just another bigoted attitude, really, like homophobia or racism. As he asks, is what they're really doing any different to scores of other people who have calmly explained why other groups needed to be marginalised? And here he's referring to the aggressive kind of pseudo-skeptic who has a totally closed mind and seeks every opportunity to belittle psychics and mock them and bully them and just act in an overly aggressive and infantile way. And his concluding paragraph states that as a result, many of us have to hide our ability and have not been free to be who we are. We live in a society that only allows us to operate on the fringes and dismisses our abilities as mere magical thinking. Now, I think these are very valid points that Craig has made, and it's an issue I feel quite strongly about. I do think that in this day and age, while certain prejudices are on the outs, that prejudice against psychics and people who practice alternative forms of spirituality, such as witches, etc., I think we live in a culture where, as I said, it's still socially acceptable, and I think something needs to be done about it. Thankfully, homophobia is declining, but prejudice against psychics doesn't seem to be, and I think it's a shame. And I think psychics, pagans, witches, etc., need to stand up for themselves more. I think perhaps imitate the gays, what they've done with gay pride. They have psychic pride.